What? It's the 28th. Okay, I don't know. Things are evolving. Well, we don't know who will be. This is post-president, whatever. Regardless.
Yeah, 7th. Yeah, we may not even know by the 7th.
But I think it's a good time as any. So we've been talking about doing Pink Floyd for a while, and we've seen 3 Pink Floyd tributes.
Yeah, I'm about to see a 4th.
Oh, where's that?
Well, Chuck's band.
Oh, you're going to that. That's right, because I'm going to Tom Paxton that night. So that's why I'm... Okay.
I think Marianne and I might go to
That's good. You should cover that. Yeah, you should do that for
show.
So I might even take one of my parents if they're down, but I don't know, Tacoma, that's a little dicey. So. My car makes it there. Okay, yeah, kind of boot up. Pink Floyd. (1965), same year as like the Rolling Stones formed.
Rolling Stones started in probably
62.
maybe 62 or 3.
That's true. They just blew up in
Maybe
65.
a little earlier. Yeah.
They had some great albums in 65. Pink Floyd notes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric. The blue show that we just sort of did. So I listened to a sports radio show, and the morning show guys used to do a segment, the very last 10 minutes of the show, every day called Ranked. And they would pick a word, sort of like they do in the group. And they would go through and figure out all the different pop culture things that had that word in it. And they wouldn't just limit themselves to music. They would do movies and TV and other things as well, sports things. But that was sort of, I figured, and it's funny, but they only do 10 minutes, and so they do just these real quick, snip, 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 snip,
Yep.
for each little thing that they throw out.
Well, probably a lot of this is pre-planned, pre-recorded. Production.
Oh no, they do it on the fly.
Poor Eric on the fly here. Probably more than any other show.
Oh,
here.
true enough. They do get some stuff ready, right? Yeah, a lot of stuff ready.
I bet. Yeah, this little sound. I do audio. I need all that right. I want lists. I want script.
Yeah, well,
every minute.
And that's what I'm saying is that to do 10 minutes is pretty easy. To do an hour.
Oh yeah, segment, right? I'm loading out this Amazon show. I started loading it yesterday on election night, so it should be interesting because that's protest central. So we'll see if we'll be.
Hopefully, it's all peaceful.
Yeah. Glad I moved up to Kenmore out of Queen Anne. And Pink Floyd has a blues song, More Blues.
All right.
There's a lot of Pink Floyd deep cuts, but we're probably going to talk about, but probably not play. There's a few ex-politic ones too, I tried to make note of there. So.
Yeah. I made a marker of that.
Moment of, that was not subtle. That was, oh yeah, I haven't posted.
Totally pointless to put that in, but.
Well, maybe I trust your editing. At least you got 3 days, so it's not like live at 5 or sometimes it's 3 and then you got 1 hour and you live with Debbie. Coach Debbie. If I get rich, I want to talk with Coach Debbie.
At very worst, you can just put in a beep right over that part.
Just
jokes.
All right.
Okay,
Ready?
so here we go again. That was
Take
fun.
2 and action.
Ladies and gentlemen, guys and dolls, cats and chicks, you're listening to Viva ENT, rock, pop, and soul. And today we're talking about one of the greatest rock bands and one of my favorite rock bands of all time, Pink Floyd. And this is here, Devin the Pig Dude.
Hey, pig dudes! Oink oink.
Well, I was born the year of the pig, and I seem to be living in a pigsty of a world some days. So,
And we just saw Pigs on the Wing.
And I'm not alone here, because on this train full of animals is wearing a Pigs on the Wing shirt and his Who hat. Dear, hopping aboard the Dew train here.
Aye. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming back.
Yeah. Glad to be here.
Well, we're talking about blue last week, but we got more blues, but we're switching colors to pink.
Yes.
And we have our greatest producer of all time,
Hey, it's me, Eric.
CC Rider.
And he is on board, running.
Dialing up the ones and twos.
Well, welcome to the machine, because he's got machines up and running, and we're gonna play some great music today. So, because it's been a Pink Floyd year, we've seen 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 Pink Floyd bands, and that's going to be a 4th soon.
And then I'm gonna go see a 4th soon.
So,
Yeah,
Brit
that's
Floyd, probably the best.
Yeah, Brit Floyd, the best of the 3, and then Australian Pink Floyd would probably be
The
number
second,
2.
with the kangaroos
with
instead of
the
pigs.
giant kangaroos, yeah, awesome. And then Pigs on the Wing. And Pigs on the Wing, you know, I mean, they're very good. They're local. They're Seattle based.
And the Neptune, it was a great. Oh, I had fun at the show.
It was an awesome show.
It was right around your birthday too. So
Yeah, that was very fun.
And then coming up, you know the name of the band.
They're called Long Live Rock.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and that is Chuck Dorset's band, and with some other of his other bandmates from, I think maybe Laurel Canyon Legacy. And so they're going to be doing a show November 15th at the Kirkland Performance Center. And that's their Pink Floyd Greatest Hits sort of tribute show.
And while you're covering that, I'll be at Tom Paxton down at the Spanish Ballroom in
That's
Tacoma.
right.
So, yeah, there's just so many. November is full of all sorts of shows with Duff McKagan, Usher. There's the Far Side, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's the time to go see some shows before the snow comes down here.
Yeah.
So Pink Floyd, it's got quite a history. They've got like Live in Pompeii. They have the Wall, the movie.
Yeah.
And
they did some soundtracks back in the day. They did some soundtrack work with Zabriskie Point and more, and a few other ones as well.
So we've seen tributes. Have you seen the real thing?
I have seen the real thing. Now, I will qualify that and say that I did not see Pink Floyd when they had Roger Waters in the band. I really wish I had, of course. But I was lucky enough to see them on the very last official Pink Floyd tour in 1994, the Division Bell tour. And they did not stop in Seattle that tour, so I had to drive up to Canada to see him up in Vancouver, BC at the BC Place.
That's where I saw the Rolling Stones this summer too.
Yeah,
awesome
exactly.
venue. Yeah.
And it's a fun venue to go up to and see. I saw Pink Floyd, the Stones way back in the day in the 1990 there. I saw the Who up there, but Pink Floyd, great show. And very cool because, of course, they played the song Welcome to the Machine. I'm sorry, Shine On You Crazy Diamond is what I really wanted to say. And they put the big miss screen up during Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
Was it parts 1 through 5, and then they went to 6 through 9?
Yeah.
They did it all in one
I think
go?
they did. That's a good question. I don't remember which parts they did. They probably did it all. But during that song, I remember they put up some of Syd Barrett's sort of B-grade movie stuff, because that was one of the things that Syd was dabbling in when he sort of started pulling away from the band a little bit. Of course, that song is a tribute to Syd. So it was.
And the Wall's kind of a tribute to him as well, isn't it? All that,
there are small things about the Wall that relate to him, but really the Wall really relates more to Roger Waters and his dad and stuff. And
I remember Roger Waters recently, 2022, came to the Tacoma Dome, but I was working Jackson Brown that night at the winery. So
unfortunately I missed that show as well. I remember when it came around and I wanted to go, but I could not make it.
Yep, can't catch them all.
But it was a great show, of course. Seeing, just lucky enough, as I said, to see actual Pink Floyd.
And that was in the 90s.
1994. Yeah,
and you've only seen them once. That was it.
And only saw them that once. Yeah, but very lucky. And it was funny because I was very lucky enough to see that show. The day before that show, I had a very small fender bender accident in my car where I accidentally rear-ended somebody, and I was a little nervous about driving that car up to Canada across the border the next day, but everything worked out well, and I made it back in one piece.
Live to tell the tale.
Right.
30 years onward on air. So, Eric, you have a Pink Floyd. You've seen any iteration of them?
I've only seen live footage. I haven't seen them live. Because, to be fair, they've had such a long and varied career with different members of the group taking the lead at some point. I'm a fan of the early days with Syd Barrett. Mm-hmm. Now, he was gone by 68.
Right.
Because of struggling with mental illness issues. So, I wasn't even alive in time to catch the lineup of the band that I would have liked to seen live. So I never did see them, with the other members of the group taking the leads. But the music lives on, of course, and it is so interesting the way that it's taken these different directions over the years, depending on who was in charge at the time.
Yeah.
Or I like playing "Wish You Were Here," but it's like, which part do I play? There's kind of multiple. It's like they're kind of harmonizing. So,
yeah.
I really liked "Wish You Were Here." That was probably top song. So.
Oh, that's absolutely a great one. That's one of the ones that I actually can play on guitar.
That's one that I can play as well.
Yeah. They started out in 1965, and the first single that came out in 1967 was Arnold Lane, which I still think is a great tune. And you can hear some of the Beatles' influence on them, but also you can hear how the Beatles might have been influenced by Pink Floyd and Syd Barrett specifically.
Sure. Yeah, because after 65, the Beatles' music went from being pretty straight to pretty out there.
Yeah, being pop to being like psychedelic.
Yeah, and Pink Floyd were psychedelic from jump.
Yeah, from the get-go.
And See Emily Play was the second single from them.
And this, of course, all the year that I was born, 1967.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was a top 10 hit for Pink Floyd,
Yeah.
and really put them on the map in the UK. It was number 6. It didn't chart in the US, but they were kind of bubbling under at that point over here.
Right.
And interesting that they later became this huge arena band, but back then, you know, they couldn't get arrested in the US. Yeah.
Well, not only were they influenced by the Beatles, they recorded their first album, "The Piper at the Glass,"
At the Gates of Dawn.
at the Gates of Dawn, next to the Beatles.
Yeah, at
And-
Abbey Road Studios.
Yeah, and they would sit in at the Beatles. Well, the Beatles were doing the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. They sat in one session for the song "Lovely Rita."
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's cool.
So yeah, there are a lot of influences right there. I mean, when you're hanging out with rock stars.
And the Piper at the Gates of Dawn, by the way, is a chapter in the book, The Wind and the Willows. So,
Oh, right.
yeah, they incorporated that title from that book.
A classic.
Very cool, very cool.
And they had 6 takes of like Matilda Mother. Yeah, they have all sorts of.
So before we jump to the next little something, I want to just throw a little something out here real quick because I found this fascinating when I went to their Wikipedia page. They have background information on the band, and the band was also known as Sigma 6 in 1963 and 64, the Megadeths in 1964, the Abdabs in 1964, the Screaming Abdabs in 1964, Leonard's Lodgers in 1964, the Spectrum 5 in 1964, the T-Set, which a lot of people know about the T-Set from 64 to 65. Then, of course, they ended up getting sort of their real name. They started with the Pink Floyd sound in 1965. They went to the Pink Floyd later, and then just dropped it to Pink Floyd.
Wow.
And of course, famously, Pink Floyd, there's the joke in the song, have a cigar, by the way, which one's pink? Because, of course, the record executives thought that Pink was one of the band members, when, of course, Pink was Pink Anderson, a very famous blues master, and then Floyd was Floyd Council, who was the other part of Pink and Floyd.
Yeah.
But they were named after Pink Anderson and Floyd Council, the 2 blues masters that they were into and influenced by.
I'm glad they finally made a decision after they were like they couldn't pick one. I was like, what is our name tonight? Well,
The
it's
band
like,
with the most names.
must have been every other week they were changing their name.
And of course, they played with this when they made the movie The Wall, because there is a character named Pink in there,
Yeah.
played by Bob Geldof.
Yes, from the Boomtown Rats.
Yeah, from the Boomtown Rats, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to play one more tune from Piper at the Gates of Dawn that I think is a great Syd Barrett tune. This one is Bike.
Yes.
I just love the whimsical lyrical turns.
Oh yeah,
to
I was
their-
gonna say when I was working at the ballet, I had a really good friend, Marco, rest in peace, Marco, and he had all these lines that he would cycle through. But he used to love that song, and throwing out some of the lyrics to Bike for brand new employees at our office, and they would look at him like he was crazy, but it's all good. We all knew what he was talking about.
And yeah, Bicycle. That's another. That's the Queen song that comes.
Yeah,
from
I was
other
gonna
bike song.
Right, and then of course, yeah.
But yeah, Pink Floyd. They've sold over 250 million records worldwide, making them one of the best-selling music artists of all time.
Yeah.
With The Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall being inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame,
Right.
and some of the best-selling albums of all time.
And it's interesting that they did that without having too many hits. I mean, hit singles, I should say. Of course, their albums were big and sold a lot. But over the years, if you look at their chart success, it was really between, See Emily Play in '67, which was a number 6 hit in the UK. You got to go all the way down to Another
Money.
Brick in the Wall,
Oh.
really, in 1979. Well, Money, it was a hit in the U.S. For them. Went to number 13, but I don't think it was released in the UK
Okay.
because it didn't chart at all, and you would think that it would have. But they had, they had singles all along the way, but I guess people were just buying the albums because something like
Well, they did actually. They didn't release as many singles as a lot of bands did. Actually, if you look, there was a period where they really just didn't put out any singles because, as you had said earlier, their stadium sort of rock, touring sort of success had gotten to the point where they didn't have to do so much of that.
Just play the songs that you already got. That was
Yeah.
big hits. So
right.
Yeah.
But early on, you would think they would be releasing singles that would be scoring hits. Their second album, A Saucer Full of Secrets, had a single called Let There Be Light, which didn't chart at all,
Mhm.
but I think is still a popular tune for them. And here's a version of them doing it live on British TV. Well, maybe not British TV. French TV. Now, this was an early Roger Waters song.
When he was starting to take over for Sid. Yeah.
Yeah, but also features David Gilmour doing vocals. Along with Rick White.
standing by for vocals.
Now, apparently, the last 2 minutes of the song feature a guitar solo that is credited to David Gilmour, but some say it was actually Sid Barrett who played it.
Hard to know unless you were there.
That's
Yeah,
right.
well, their manager, Andrew King, who was there at the time, says it was Sid Barrett, so who knows?
Sid paid him to say that.
Right.
And you can kind of hear with this, them paving a bridge between the early Sid Barrett-led stuff and the more, David Gilmour era.
And they're on to something there. They were pioneers of this, like using all the, like especially live in Pompeii, and how they made these abstract sounds with analog or sheep, like they go and like with analog equipment record.
Yeah. Animals and different things, sound effects. And
Time, that's a ringing bar, but we'll probably get to that later. We're still in the early days.
We're almost there. I was going to say the next album, Ummagumma, of course, famous for having one of the longest song titles ever in the history of music. Several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave and grooving with a pict.
Wow. Yeah, they have some long songs like Echo. It's like 23 minutes.
Right. Some of the interesting stuff that they threw out into the cosmos.
Well, I'm jumping ahead to 1972 when they released Free 4 from the album Obscured by Clouds. This saw some chart success for them in France and the Netherlands. This is a really interesting one. The more traditional folk almost sounding song structure that with just heavy, guitar distortion layered on top. Definitely would have gone on to influence bands like the Jesus and Mary Chain, for instance, who took more like a Beach Boys song structure and then layered that with, sonic distortions and, kind of explosive guitar noise and feedback and stuff. So Pink Floyd were doing some really interesting stuff at the time. It doesn't always work, but it is interesting and pioneering.
Certainly experimenting with the science of sound and rock and roll.
Oh yeah, and of course that was something that the Beatles, was super heavy into.
So then they met up with Alan Parsons at Abbey Road, and they made one of the greatest albums of all time with Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, and their most successful album probably of all time as well. And it featured their first top 20 U.S. hit, which was Money. Which in 1973 went to number 13.
And this song is in 7/time. 7/4 time.
Well, now they can buy a football team because they sold their music rights to Sony for $400 million.
That's right.
Like a few weeks ago. So they just making the headlines. So.
Yeah, they finally ended all they were having disputes, of course, between Gilmore and Waters about how everything should be split up and all that.
But
very typical of that band.
Money, it makes the world go round.
Yeah.
Cash is still king till the digital currency takes over. But,
that's right. But what an album Dark Side of the Moon was. I mean, just incredible. And of course, as we talked about earlier, if supposedly if you line up the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, you can run through some of the beginning of
the first hour, pretty much the whole show, movie.
Yeah, they've released that. It's a film that people can see.
Right.
I think it's on YouTube as well. But yeah, The Dark Side of Oz.
That's right.
And lots of songs, classics on that album. But Us and Them was a follow-up single to Money.
And a rainbow from the prism. It's like there was because it's like unity, and then as the refract, the society represents society being there's an absence of unity. So that was.
Yep.
Well, that cover artwork featuring the prism is one of the most famous.
It's iconic,
album cover art ever.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like the Pink Floyd prism and like the Joy Division Unknown Pleasures cover.
The landscape or whatever that is.
Those are probably competing with like the two greatest T-shirt designs of all time.
Right,
as far as rock music goes.
And then, of course, maybe Steal Your Face for Grateful Dead.
Not familiar with that, but I'll look it up.
Oh, that's what my tattoo is based on, is the Steal Your Face.
Yes, that's basically
the lightning bolt skull.
The logo.
Yeah,
the Grateful Dead logo.
Because that was one of their album covers as well.
Yeah, that's up there. Yeah.
I like their saxophone use in these songs. So.
Yep, Dick Perry. And as a matter of fact, the funny thing is that on that, this is 73, and this is Dick Perry playing the saxophone. On that 94 tour that I saw, the Division Bell tour, they actually brought Dick Perry back around with them to do saxophone on stage for those songs. So it was awesome. Very cool to see him live with the band. Of course, this is one of their first songs about war as well, which would become a big theme for them.
And still relevant to today, unfortunately.
Yeah, with the song they just put out.
Well, they are definitely. I mean, you can hear like a jump forward in like production quality, slickness, even, and their playing is tight and professional at this point. It's a far cry from the early days of kind of loose psychedelic. Jammy quality.
Sure.
So, some people, they definitely gained more fans around this time, but they might have said goodbye to some that were, interested in that early sound.
Right.
Because it was a huge departure.
Yeah, it was a radical change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, part of that was thanks to Alan Parsons.
Right.
Who helped him to, engineer that album and produce it and stuff.
And each member of Pink Floyd except Wright boycotted the press release of Dark Side of the Moon because the quadraphonic mix had not been completed, and they felt that presenting the album through a poor quality stereo PA system was insufficient. So,
Yeah. And it
best with headphones with that album.
Yeah. And then famously when they went to do their next album, Wish You Were Here, they invited Alan Parsons to come back and help them engineer that album, but at that point he was already starting to have big success with his own band, Alan Parsons Project, and so he politely turned him down. And in a related note, in 1996, Alan Parsons came around on a tour, and I was lucky enough to see him at the Paramount in Seattle. Fantastic show.
Oh, you saw Alan Parsons?
Alan Parsons, yeah, and
Oh, wow.
it wasn't billed as the Alan Parsons Project on that particular tour. I mean, it was, in essence, that's what it is, but it was just billed as Alan Parsons. But boy, it was a great, and he opened up the show with Dr. Tar and Professor Feather from Edgar Allan Poe, because he was a big Edgar Allan Poe fan. He did a whole album at one point with Poe poetry and stories and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Pink Floyd and Alan Parsons were definitely full-on progressive rock at this point, and this gave the punks something to rail against. I mean, famously, Johnny Rotten was sighted in the street with a homemade "I Hate Pink Floyd" T-shirt, which got him into the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
They said, "Hey, that guy looks interesting," and brought him in for an audition.
Pink Floyd's not out there enough for me, so yeah, I gotta do something even more chaotic.
Yeah, I think the punks were thinking like, this is too bloated, this is too big, this
It's getting
is
mainstream.
too conceptual, this is too mainstream. Yeah. So the unfortunate side of that is some really interesting music got ignored by people that might have been interested into it as well. But I think in retrospect, a lot of people have looked back and said, hey, this is not too bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And the big follow-up to The Dark Side of the Moon was Wish You Were Here, which is the album that really is a big tribute to Syd Barrett, who had left 7 years later, and it features a 9-song suite of Shine On You Crazy Diamond. And here's the title track, Wish You Were Here.
Yeah. Another song about the war.
And this is maybe the most famous song from Wish You Were Here, but they actually released a proper single, which was Have a Cigar.
Oh, I love this song.
Oh yeah, we're on the gravy train today.
We are riding the gravy train.
Did not chart.
No cigars.
Yeah. It did feature Roy Harper.
Uh-huh. Somebody that, the Allman Brothers wrote a song about. And of course, this is their song, thumbing their nose at the record industry.
I think maybe part of the issue with Pink Floyd songs not charting was the length of them.
Yeah.
This one was 5 minutes plus.
Right.
That's one of the shorter songs.
I was going to say that.
Which is
and
why
that's
it was a single.
right. Oh.
By the way, which one's pink?
Anderson.
So really kind of telling the story of the band. or at least one view. The
Yeah.
story of the band.
That's right.
So Wish You Were Here, I think, very beloved by the fans, but not as successful as Dark Side of the Moon, and not as successful as the follow-up, which was The Wall,
Yes.
which featured their biggest hit of all time, which of course was Another Brick in the Wall.
Part 2.
Part 2, not part 3.
Or Part 1.
And went to #1 in the UK and the US.
Yes. As well it should have. Still not A. Listen to that heavy bass too. Totally Roger Waters written.
And in 1982, of course, a film came out called Pink Floyd, The Wall, that was kind of a rock opera based around this album.
And another great track from the album was Comfortably Numb.
Yeah.
That's
Controversial but brilliant.
I mean, they also have like Young Lust, which is kind of a fun one. But
This is a little bit of Comfortably Numb.
This song is the best. And this scene in the Wall movie is great.
Yeah, this and Run Like Hell were the follow-ups to Another Brick in the Wall Part 2.
Yeah.
But Run Like Hell charted at number 53 in the U.S., but Comfortably Numb didn't chart.
I'm uncomfortable with that statement, but okay.
And the 2 guitar solos, of course, in this song, just brilliant.
We have to do a show about the greatest guitar solos of all time, but
That would be a good
that's
subject.
they'll be on the list.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of Run Like Hell.
Mm-hmm.
Great jogging song.
In a cardboard box. One of the funny things about the whole Wall, sort of era and time with Pink Floyd was that Roger Waters had become very unhappy with a lot of the other band members, not carrying their weight, supposedly, writing songs and lyrics and different stuff. And so they actually fired Richard Wright. And but because they needed him for the tour, they actually hired him back to come on the tour. And the funny thing was, because he wasn't actually an official band member at that point, they paid him like a salary. And because the tour lost so much money, he was the only one that made money, Richard Wright, because they actually had removed him from the band and paid him separately. Yeah, so.
Right?
That was one of the interesting little nuggets about the Wall era. And then, of course, later
Because
when...
they spent so much on the production of
On-
it. 'Cause I
yeah.
imagine they were playing a huge crowd.
Oh, yeah, they were
Yeah.
playing to huge crowds.
Production ain't cheap, I know.
And it's not cheap, yeah. And so anyway, yeah, it really cost them... they lost a lot of money on that one. And but, of course, because he was sort of insulated, he did just fine.
That's the downside of these huge concepts.
Yeah.
That Pink Floyd was well known for.
Sure.
Was that it costs money to
Yeah.
have those big productions.
Just like it sort of in a similar way with making videos for like MTV and stuff.
Right.
At one point became very
Oh, it's like $1 million a minute or something.
expensive, yeah.
While Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall made them international superstars. They were playing to huge crowds. And they kind of became a pop group, scoring hits, actual chart hits, with their singles, which was kind of a new concept for the band. But they spent the 80s making some hits, like 1982. They scored with this song, When the Tigers Broke Free, which was a non-album single, but has since been included in reissues as part of their catalog. So let's hear a little bit of When the Tigers Broke Free. Kind of a slow beginning to this one.
And I'm pretty sure this is another one of their songs that's about war.
Kind of like the happiest days of our lives.
.44.
Right. And if you look at the cover of the album that followed this single, The Final Cut,
Yeah.
it is ribbons basically zoomed in on. and cropped, and the ribbons for for
The soldiers. Yeah.
the soldiers would wear.
Yeah, that was definitely a song about, or an album about war, the
Right.
final cut.
And when I said pop band, I meant in the very loosest sense, in that they were charting popular hits. I did not mean musically.
Right.
Does not sound nothing like Madonna.
No. But they were just so popular that they could pretty much release anything at this point, and it would chart. Like Not Now, John, which was a single from the final cut. Written by Roger Waters, this is the only track on the album that features lead vocals from David Gilmour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they really had some progressive statements to make too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we kind of skipped over Animals, that featured the Battersea Power Station, which
Yeah, we don't want to go without mentioning that, because somebody's got a band named Battersea, and of course
right.
that album cover for Animals, famous for having the Battersea Power Station in it.
Correct.
Yeah.
and then
Which played no part in our naming ourselves Battersea.
Yeah.
But it is,
A great coincidence.
It is a fun coincidence. Yeah.
and they recorded the Animals at the church halls of they bought their own little church to record in. So, but they were saying it's based on George Orwell's Animal Farm.
Oh yeah, of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
Yep.
And this album features like 5 songs, but they're all really long, which is part of the reason why maybe it didn't have any singles.
Right. Well, and except for the 2 little snippets of Pigs on the Wing, which are real short, but yeah, but the main songs are real long. And the funny thing is that, before they had conceptualized the album as Animals, those songs had different titles. Like one of them was "You Gotta Be Crazy," and that was called "You Gotta Be Crazy" at that point, before they renamed it to, which is that, sheep or is that dogs? I can't remember.
I think it's Dogs. Yes.
Yeah.
Dogs is one of the tracks on it, along with this one, Pigs, 3 different ones.
3
And
different
because
ones
of
is great.
the album cover featuring a balloon pig flying over Battersea Power Station.
Yeah.
And the pig has become one of their logos, one of their symbols, as evidenced by Darren's t-shirt here.
That's right.
Pigs on the Wing, and that's how they finished the show. Their encore was
Yeah,
the song.
this is the encore of the Pigs on the Wing show that we just saw.
And during the shows, I believe they would have pig balloons floating around
Absolutely.
in their arenas and
Big
stadiums that
inflatables.
they were playing.
Yeah, they did.
Or in the case of Australian Pink Floyd, an inflatable kangaroo.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Maybe some wallabies and Tasmanian tigers in there as well.
That's right. Maybe some dingoes.
Yeah, that's we heard that also. I think the Australian Pink Floyd band played that as well.
I think they did, yeah. Now that's a great song, of course.
Well, what is your favorite Pink Floyd song,
What is my favorite Pink Floyd song? That's a good question. It might be Brain Damage and Eclipse.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really like The Great Gig in the Sky.
That is a good one. Yeah, of course, with Claire Torrey singing lead vocals on the album.
But probably my number one is Money.
Okay.
Especially an Italian Job. That's like the new one remake they put.
Oh, do they? Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't watched the remake.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's fun. Yeah.
Oh,
There's a little bit of Brain Damage.
love it.
And guys, because we've only got a couple minutes left here in the show, we'll have to go out here with Brain Damage. But anything else you want to say? And we could probably revisit Pink Floyd in the future.
Sure.
Because there's so much more to talk about with their enormous career. But,
Right.
Anything you want to say as we're wrapping up today?
It's good. They got quite the catalog. Well, there's Usher coming up 2 nights.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the 10th and the 11th. But I'm going to see him the 11th. The 10th is the Van Morrison tribute up at the, and then.
And then, of course, the 15th would be Long Live Rock with the Pink Floyd tribute at Kirkland Performance Center.
Because we're in November now.
Right. Of course, Viva ENT, Rock, Pop, and Soul Facebook page. Want to come and interact and have fun and, have fun.
Well, a few concerts. Bake's Place, Petty Fever, tribute to Tom Petty's playing there on the 9th. 10th is at Tim Noah Thumbnail Theater. Moondance, tribute to Van Morrison, Unplugged, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then at the Central Saloon is the Why-O-Lee and the Wreckage and Glenn Cannon and Holston Ray.
Cool.
We
Lots of fun local shows.
We're in a new era now, and new times, so we'll keep on rocking out regardless of what's going on around us. So, Devin Creisler Studios is where you can find all my content I'm posting. It's over 11,000 videos of all these bands,
Sweet.
including Battersea. So.
Including Battersea, that's right. I even have Battersea on my channel at DoTrain, YouTube/DoTrain, and I've got about 12,000 subscribers and about 6,000 videos now. Just went over the 1 million view mark. So if you haven't subscribed to either Devin's channel or my channel, what are you waiting for? Get on board.
It's free.
That's right, it's free.
Well, thanks for listening to Viva ENT, Rock, Pop, and Soul, everybody. And if you miss us on Thursdays at 5, be sure and tune in Tuesdays at 3 as well.
Thanks for the encore,
Yeah.
And you have your show as well, your podcast too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't Ask Me to Talk wherever you find podcasts or right here on KKNW. All right, folks. Thanks for listening again. And we're going out with Pink Floyd. It's a little bit of Brain Damage.
And thank you for coming on again, Jay.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Have a good week, everyone.
Yep. Rock and roll.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Great job, everybody. Especially you running all of this requests and madness that you bestow upon you. Yeah. So I went from like 0 to 100 real quick. So here's.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Appreciate
So,
that.
bouncing back. Darren has a job now.
Hey,
Wow.
Congratulations.
I have a damn job.
Well, and YouTube, I got 526 this month from YouTube, so.